Dave Jones says we're live, so we're live.
We
Penn
are
State
definitely
Blitz
live.
from Piscataway, New Jersey. We had a lot of fun Friday night. Probably more fun Friday night than we did in the press box Saturday, because this was not one of them. This was not a work of art.
No.
60 minutes, but Penn State got a win. They're now 8-3. 9-3 is right there for them. Although Maryland might be a little tougher than we realized. I have a feeling they're going to be a little let down from the Terps next week. We'll see. Defensive game, Penn State's passing game was erratic. Anything surprise you about what you saw here today?
No, I mean, I think that you saw Penn State come into this game, and I think you thought they'd do a little bit more on the ground because Rutgers does have such a bad run defense. But instead, they went to the air 10 more times than they did the ground game. And Trace McSorley, he had some passes that sailed long, were short, were behind guys. It just wasn't his best day. He admitted to it after the game, despite it being his 30th win at Penn State, which has an all-time record. So you get in, you get out, you move on with the victory. It just sort of is one of those games.
Let's talk about three players specifically. I didn't think we'd be talking about these guys after the game. I mean, it's Trace's 30th win. There's going to be a lot written about that. Pat Freiermuth, tight end, 2 touchdowns, some nice poses after scoring. But at this point in the season, like, where would they be if Pat Freiermuth had not emerged from the tight end room? James Franklin claims that they feel really good about their tight end group. I don't know that that's true.
No.
I think Pat Freiermuth, he does not look to me or play like a true freshman, and I think it's one of the most surprising seasons I've seen from a first-year player since I've been covering Penn State.
Yeah, he's a tremendous talent. I think a lot of people thought that Zach Kuntz would be the guy to play first if one of the 2 January enrollee tight ends were going to play. Instead, it ends up being if he was going to play early because he enrolled in January. Instead, it ended up being the non-January enrollee, Pat Freiermuth, who he's been terrific. He finds ways to get open. He can block. I mean, he has a chance to be the complete package. Mike Kosicki never really was.
Correct.
Maybe not as athletic. Nobody is. But, Bob, they got a good one there. There's no question.
Big drink of water, tall drink of water. We saw his dad in the airport a couple of weeks ago. We could see why he's a large human at a very young age. I think he's going to be a really complete tight end, and they haven't had a complete tight end in decades. And I think that the next couple of years, you're just going to see his role grow. And wait till he gets bigger. Like, he hasn't really had a lot of time with Dwight Galt in the strength and conditioning room. We're talking about a kid that's going to probably play at 265 pounds. Let's talk about a 240-pound kid, Micah Parsons from Harrisburg High School. Got his first career start. Cam Brown in the doghouse for something he did Friday. Minor infraction, James Franklin says. Micah, every time he plays, he does something in a game that makes you shake your head in a good way. He had a sack and a strip of the Rutgers quarterback. He just seems like he's a very confident player. The talent is there. Greg Pickel, has he exceeded your expectations this season?
Yeah, I think so. He's talented, he's confident, now he knows what he's doing, which isn't to say that he was trying not to know what he was doing in the beginning of the season, but he was playing a position he had never played before, and there were growing pains. There really were. I mean, there were times it looked like he wanted to still be a defensive end despite playing linebacker, and now he's starting to figure out exactly what he needs to do and when he needs to do it and where he needs to be. Bob, we've seen him grow and his snap count go up each week.
And one final player that, I mean, probably isn't going to get a lot of credit, Blake Gillikin. It's not really windy right now, but clearly there was a windy advantage going from right to left from the press box. 67-yard punt in the first half, 70-yarder in the second half. I mean, they both went into the end zone. That's unfortunate, but this is one of his better games. Rutgers never really had great field position, I think, in this game. And just your thoughts on kind of his play.
Yeah, I think that's been up and down the season for him. He said earlier this week that he's not leaving early, so that's settled in case anybody was wondering. Didn't know he was asked that, but he was. So he will be returning next season. He certainly has a lot to build on from this year. Also a lot. I mean, I have to think at this point, Bob, the whole thing with him maybe being the kicker, maybe not being the kicker, him wanting to be the kicker, him not being the kicker, just feel like that may have played into some of his earlier season struggles, but he's been a little bit better the last couple of weeks.
So 8-3, Greg. 9-3 is a distinct possibility. What was the thing that you think you liked most about Penn State's game today? And what's the one thing going into Maryland they had better get fixed, or maybe it'll be a little bit, the Maryland game might be closer than people think?
I mean, we saw Rutgers rip off a couple of runs, and guess what? That's the only reason Maryland was in that game outside of the pick six. Bob, they had, 2 75-yard touchdown runs in the first half. If they let that Maryland team get running, it's going to be a problem. We saw Rutgers do that today, so that's the one thing I think I'd watch. As for the thing that I thought was most impressive, Miles Sanders fumbles at the end, kind of takes the polish off of that 4-minute drive, but they picked up a couple of third downs there that we haven't seen him be able to do before. It was a nice touch to finish the game, even if the fumble sort of took some of the shine away.
So they blew him out 38-24 in 2016 Maryland. It wasn't really that close. 66-3 last year. Do you think there's a chance that Maryland can give these guys a game
it depends
on senior day?
Yeah, it depends if they get off the day. I mean, if Penn State's passing game continues to look the way it's looked today, yeah, absolutely, anybody could, even Rutgers apparently. So I think they have to clean that up. But if Maryland can't get over this Ohio State game quick enough, then no, it's going to be another blowout. So we'll see how the Terps' mental state is on Saturday.
Micah Parsons, Pat Freiermuth, Blake Gillikin. Why wouldn't we be talking about these guys this late in the season? It's just kind of weird that those guys are really the standouts, but it says a lot about their talent and about the kind of game Penn State played against Rutgers.